What's going on, Bengals fans? Chris Daughtery back with you guys here on Bengals Breakdown. Through the good, the bad, and the ugly, every single Monday, we do our Overreaction Monday video for you guys. And just to have full transparency here, I was literally about to push this video out. We already filmed one, part of it, and then some injury news came out. So we're actually splicing this first half into what we already filmed. Just wanted to throw that out there because there was some major Bengals injury news that we'll get to here in just a second. But first, we are going to be live on Thanksgiving for that Bengals versus Ravens game. So do not miss out. Make sure you join us for our Thanksgiving night watch party. Go have your, Thanksgiving food in the afternoon, early lunch, whatever time you guys do it there. Have your afternoon nap and then come join us for that night game on Thanksgiving versus the Bengals and the Ravens. All right, so overreaction number one, the expectation right now is that Joe Burrow is going to play this week versus the Baltimore Ravens. And you guys know how I feel about this at this point already. I really don't think the Bengals should bring back Joe Burrow at this point. I really don't see why or how there is a point to this being a good thing for the Bengals at the end of the day. If you luck into a couple more wins here, you're just going to hurt your draft stock. Maybe Joe Burrow, you're bringing him back a little bit too early. The narrative is out there that he is injury prone. So I don't know, man. I just don't see how it's a good idea at this point. But the expectation is that Joe Burrow is going to end up playing this week against the Baltimore Ravens. There were also some other injury news that really isn't that much of a surprise here. Tee Higgins not going to play with that concussion. Just kind of, too soon for a Thursday night game for him to end up coming back here. Trey Hendrickson is also not going to go in this game. He is out still with that hip/pelvic injury. It's now 5 weeks that we're not going to see Trey Hendrickson, 4 games plus the bye week here. Really don't know why. I get it to begin with. You're trying to trade Trey Hendrickson possibly there, why you don't put him on IR, but at this point, just put him on IR. It really doesn't make any sense there. Open up a roster spot to help you out there. And Tahj Brooks, by the way, also going to be out with a concussion, which now that means you have Chase Brown. Samaje Perine has been dealing with that ankle injury, so still really don't know where he sits with that ankle injury. I would expect if Samaje Perine isn't going to be good to go as well for this week's game, probably going to end up calling up Gary Brightwell Jr. again to the active roster off of the practice squad there. But some major injury news there with Tee Higgins and Trey Hendrickson all going to be out for this game. And the expectation is that Joe Burrow will play in this Thursday night Thanksgiving game against the Baltimore Ravens. And, Zac Taylor was also asked about building momentum in his post-game press conference yesterday. And, what are you building momentum for at this point? He said they're just trying to find a win. Look, man, this goes to my point. I don't get why you're bringing Joe Burrow back at this point. I know both sides of the argument here. Some people out there are saying, look, you're paying him all this money. If he's healthy, he needs to go out there and play. But at the end of the day, you're just hurting yourself, especially with Tee Higgins not going to be good to go for this game. Trey Hendrickson's going to be out for another game there. To me, it just doesn't really make any sense. And I understand these guys, it is in their DNA. They don't want to give up on the season, but let's just be real for a second here. You're 3-8. You're pretty much out of it at this point. Zac Taylor's probably, it could be fighting for his job. I don't really know. I personally, I think the Bengals could probably lose out, and Zac Taylor still doesn't get fired because he still has an extra year on his contract. Maybe after next season, they can evaluate to see how next season ends up playing out, but I don't really see a world at this point right now, no matter how this season ends up shaking out where Zac Taylor ends up getting fired. But news of the day right now, Joe Burrow is expected to play versus the Ravens this week. Tee Higgins going to be out with a concussion, and Trey Hendrickson also going to be out with that hip/pelvic injury. Back to Zac Taylor here, though. What is the % chance that you think Zac Taylor gets fired? We've kind of asked you guys this question before. Will Zac Taylor get fired? Will Zac Taylor be the head coach next season? What is the % chance you think he gets fired, whether the Bengals win out or whether they lose out? Let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. Overreaction number 2, it is time to fire Duke Tobin. To me, You can only be so bad at your job for so long. This is what, 24, 25, 26 years that Duke Tobin has been with the team. I think he's been with the team since 1999 or something like that. If you want to give him credit for, getting Joe paid, T, Jamar, and, kind of paying Trey Hendrickson, I guess you can go ahead and do that. That's fine. But, that doesn't excuse the lack of trades that the Bengals made at the trade deadline. If you thought that, you could do anything to help this team this season, why wouldn't you do anything to help yourselves at the trade deadline? Yeah, you went out there and traded for Joe Flacco, and that did help the offense a little bit. But what about the defense? That was the thing that was really, really, killing this team. The offense wasn't very good under Jake Browning. Insert, Joe Flacco into that equation. And the offense did get a little bit better. They got a whole lot better, actually. But at that point, the defense really just, was shitting the bed game after game after game. And the offense can only do so much at this point. There is a plan around this Bengals franchise right now, whether it's Duke Tobin's plan or whether it's, the Browns' plan or Katie Blackburn's plan. I don't know whose plan it is, but it's pretty clear at this point. Pay the offense, draft the defense. And the problem is you're not good at evaluating talent and drafting players. They just took a guy in the first round that had 4.5 sacks in 3 seasons in college because he has good traits. Okay, F the traits. I want guys who can actually put some production out there on the football field. And, over the past couple of drafts, the Bengals have used so many top 100 picks on defensive players, and they just flat out have not really been able to pan out for you. And there has been speculation about Duke Tobin's job in the future with this Bengals franchise. This is what the Athletic's Mike Jones had to say about it. He said, league insiders wonder about Duke Tobin's job security, given the Bengals' shortcomings over the last 2 seasons and the double-digit loss campaign that they appear to be headed for in 2025. Said a couple more things, but then ended with this, saying while questions about Tobin's future have been raised by rival executives, others point to the Bengals owner Mike Brown's fragility and Bengals injuries as reasons why they believe that the Bengals will stand pat despite another disappointing end to the season. I think, it's about time for the Bengals to go out there and get a GM, whatever you want to call Duke Tobin. They call him the de facto GM. I think you need to go out and find somebody that can actually do a good job with what this ownership group allows them to do. All right, we'll come back here in a second with some more overreactions and some rumors, but first, today's show is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Whether you're sending an unforgettable gift or treating yourself to everyday perfection, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. Gift USDA certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, cozy and convenient comfort meals, and so much more. And right now, during their cyber sale, so many deals going on right now at Omaha Steaks. You have to take advantage. You guys can get 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites at omahasteaks.com. And don't miss the best deals of the season and exclusive limited time offers. Plus, our listeners here at Bengals Breakdown get an extra $35 off just by using promo code Bengals at checkout. Terms apply, and you can see that website for extra details. But I know for a fact some of my family members and in-laws will be receiving a bundle from Omaha Steaks this holiday season. For example, the festive gift bundle is only $90 right now at Omaha Steaks. You get sirloins, you get chicken breasts, you get jumbo franks, you get apple tartlets, and their very own Omaha Steaks seasoning. And guess what? You also get 4 free Omaha Steak burgers as well. They also have a custom gift assortment that I absolutely love, where you pick 7 of their options and you could build your very own custom package as well. So take the stress out of gifting and gift a handcrafted perfection is the kind of gift that brings people together this holiday season, and you don't have to know anyone's size. That's a great thing about Omaha Steaks. It's not close. You don't have to get it wrong here. So save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com. Catch this. 50% off site-wide, an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And you guys, our listeners here at Bengals Breakdown, get an additional $35 off just by using promo code Bengals at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com. Promo code Bengals at checkout. Terms do apply. You can see that website for extra details. That link's going to be down in the comments section and the description of today's video. All right, back to the overreactions here. I think you have to find a way, any way, to draft Caleb Downs at all cost once you get to the NFL draft. Do everything in your power to get this guy on this Bengals defense, either him or Arvell Reese. I don't really know if the Bengals are going to go and try to draft another linebacker, even if he is there, because they have faith in their guys. We have heard that, I don't know if excuse is the right word there, but we have heard that phrase from Zac Taylor a lot this season, whether or not you like these rookie linebackers or not. You need a guy in the back end of the defense that can be elite in coverage, but also come downfield, put a hat on a hat, and be a headhunter against the run. And that is what Caleb Downs is. Yet another reason not to play Joe Burrow for the rest of the season. Do not jeopardize your draft pick because you want to save face. I'm convinced that the Bengals, could lose out and they would still bring Zac Taylor back anyways. I think Geno Stone had a pretty good game yesterday against the Patriots, but he's probably gone after the season anyways. I don't see a world where the Bengals end up, signing him to another contract after this season. I think you have to do everything in your power to find a way to draft Caleb Downs during this year's NFL draft. All right. It is a AFC North matchup this week, the Bengals and the Ravens. We are going up against Joey Peterson and Ravens Rundown in a like battle this week. So hit that like button and help us out here on Bengals Breakdown. Look, the Bengals might not end up winning the game, but we could beat Joey Peterson and Ravens Rundown here. So help me out. Drop a like on today's video. Overreaction number 4. I think the defense actually played well enough to win that game against the Patriots this weekend. For the most part, I think they were really good. They only gave up 1 touchdown on the day to Hunter Henry. The Patriots had to settle for 4 field goals on the day. All but one of those field goals, by the way, were for at least 40 yards out. I would take that every single week. They had 3 goal line stands in the game. They had to do it twice on one drive because of the defensive pass interference call on 4th down. But they held the Patriots to a field goal on that drive as well, even though you had to do 2 different goal line stands on the same drive. By the way, I also want to give a shout out to Jalen Davis. For a guy who they called up off the practice squad this week, he had 3 tackles, he had a sack, he had a tackle for loss, and 42 snaps in that game. He played mostly in the slot. They ended up moving Dax Hill to that outside corner spot with Cam Taylor-Britt going to injured reserve. I thought he played really well for a guy who was undrafted in 2019. I also want to touch on this as well. They only had 6 missed tackles against the Patriots, which was a season low, if you can believe that or not. So I guess that is progress on that front. But unfortunately, the offense and the defense can just not get together and perform well in the same game yet again. So grade the defense versus the Patriots. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know how you guys feel down in the comments. Personally, I think they get at least a B+ for this game. They only allowed 1 touchdown, and they, held the Patriots to 4 field goal opportunities in this game. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section of today's video.